ever stop to think about why helping someone else can sometimes feel, well, better than getting help yourself?
It's a bit strange when you put it like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping straight into generosity. What does it really mean to help others?
And we've got some fascinating angles to look at this from. We're drawing on, the wisdom in the richest man in Babylon.
Right, Arkad's ideas.
Exactly. And also the lessons from the Bible, particularly stories like the Good Samaritan.
So we'll see Arkad's approach, which is all about empowering people, teaching financial skills.
And contrast that with the really radical, selfless help shown by the Good Samaritan. Plus, we'll dig into specific verses about giving.
Okay, so the goal here isn't just defining generosity. It's about understanding how it works, how you can apply it.
Yeah, and it's definitely not just about cash. It's
Yeah.
broader than that. Time, wisdom, support.
Okay, let's dive in. Arkad first. What was his core idea about helping?
Well, Arkad's big thing wasn't just giving stuff away. It was about empowerment.
Empowerment. How so?
He figured, look, giving someone money helps them today, maybe, but teaching them how to manage and grow their own money, that changes their whole future.
Ah, right. Like the old saying, teach someone to fish.
Precisely. He was about giving wisdom, tools, guidance, things that last.
And that creates a kind of ripple effect, doesn't it? You help one person become self-sufficient.
And they're then in a position to maybe help others, or at least not need constant help themselves. It builds capacity.
It makes you think about, say, that coworker scenario, someone always needing a loan.
Right. Your instinct is to help, of course, but Arkad might say, is just giving the money really helping long term?
Or is it maybe accidentally creating dependency?
Exactly. True generosity, in his view, aims higher. It aims for that self-sufficiency, that independence.
That's a really powerful distinction. Okay, let's pivot now to the Good Samaritan. Very different feel.
Very different. This story hits you on a different level. We all kind of know it, but the details.
Yeah, the man beaten, left for dead,
Mm,
and the people you'd expect to help.
they just walk by. A priest, a Levite. Then comes the Samaritan.
An outsider, someone looked down upon in that culture.
And he's the one who stops.
Yeah.
And doesn't just stop, he gets involved. Really involved.
Totally hands-on, bandaging wounds, using his own animal for transport.
Taking him to an inn, paying the innkeeper, promising to cover any extra costs. It's quite something.
There's a real personal cost there. Time, effort, money, and zero expectation of getting anything back.
None at all. Just pure compassion, driving him to meet an immediate, desperate need.
It makes you think about that neighbor scenario, someone facing a sudden crisis.
Yeah. The Samaritan's example is that call to practical, immediate help, using what you have right then and there to ease suffering.
So we have Arkad's long-term empowerment and the Samaritan's immediate selfless action. Two sides of the coin, maybe?
Perhaps, or maybe different tools for different situations. Now, underpinning all this, we have some core biblical principles. Luke 6.38 is huge.
Give and it will be given to you. That one.
Yes, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. It's this idea of kingdom economics, almost, meaning that the act of giving doesn't deplete you in a spiritual sense.
Yeah.
It actually opens the door for more to flow back. And not just money, but blessings, joy, connection.
That image of the overflowing measure is very vivid. It suggests abundance, not scarcity.
Exactly. And you see this echoed elsewhere. Proverbs 11.25.
Let me think. A generous person will prosper.
Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. It's that reciprocity again. Helping others has this way of, well, refreshing the giver too.
Makes sense. And then there's that line in Acts, it is more blessed to give than to receive.
Acts 20.35. Yeah, that directly challenges our, default setting of looking out for number one.
It suggests a deeper kind of blessing, a fulfillment in the act of giving itself.
I think so. A purpose that goes beyond just getting stuff.
What about 2 Corinthians 9? That talks about sowing and reaping, right?
Verses 6 to 8. Sowing generously leads to reaping generously. And crucially, God loves a cheerful giver.
Ah, the attitude matters. Not giving grudgingly or out of obligation.
Right. It should come from the heart. And the sowing reaping idea reminds us our giving has consequences. It produces something.
Okay. And Galatians 6.2, carry each other's burdens. That feels more communal.
Definitely. It's about solidarity, empathy, and action. stepping in to help shoulder someone else's load, building that support network.
There are quite a few others too, aren't there? Like Proverbs 19.17.
Kindness to the poor is lending to the Lord. It elevates giving to this spiritual transaction almost, a connection to the divine,
And Matthew 25.4, whatever you do for the least of these, you do for God.
which puts immense value on every single person, especially those often overlooked. Our generosity towards them is seen as generosity towards God.
Wow. And you mentioned others, 2 Corinthians 9.10, about being enriched for generosity.
Acts 4, the early church sharing everything. Deuteronomy 15, give generously without a grudging heart. 1 Peter 4, use your gifts to serve others.
It's a really consistent theme running through.
Absolutely, it's fundamental.
So if we pull all this together, Arkad, the Samaritan, these verses, what are the big takeaways, the core morals?
Well, first off, generosity isn't passive, it's active. It's doing something, like the Samaritan.
Okay, action is key. What else?
True help, the kind Arkad championed, empowers people for the long haul. It builds them up.
Right, empowerment. And the Bible verses.
They consistently suggest this principle. God honors and rewards an open hand. Generosity opens up pathways for blessing.
It's also an expression of love, isn't it? Giving time, wisdom, resources.
Definitely. It's love made practical. And it seems like it's viewed as a sort of kingdom investment. You give, and it multiplies.
It reflects God's own nature, which is proactive giving.
And it ties into that idea of stewardship. We don't ultimately own things, we manage them. And part of managing well is sharing.
So intentional giving can genuinely change lives, both the givers and the receivers.
Absolutely. It mirrors the gospel itself, which is about God's unconditional giving. We're blessed, ultimately, to be a blessing.
A generous life is a purposeful life.
And teaching others how to thrive, Arkad's way, that's maybe a deeper level of giving still. Even small, consistent acts add up.
Okay, this is all great in principle, but how does someone listening right now make this practical? Let's talk application.
Good question. Thinking about Arkad, how can you share financial know-how?
Like maybe mentoring a younger person starting out, or just sharing budgeting tips with a friend who's struggling.
Exactly. Or teaching your own kids good money habits early on. That's empowering.
And when it comes to giving money, like to charities.
Maybe look for organizations that focus on that empowerment angle. Microfinance, job training, education programs. Giving with a vision for self-sufficiency.
So it requires a bit more thought than just writing a check sometimes.
It does. Wise and discerning giving, asking that key question. Is this gift likely to help them grow or just, patch a hole temporarily?
Which can be tough. Sometimes the immediate need is so pressing.
True. And that's where the Good Samaritan comes in. We need to be ready for those moments too, living open-handedly.
Ready to meet immediate needs when they arise, like for that neighbor you mentioned.
Yeah. And maybe that means planning for it. Budgeting for generosity, setting aside something each month, even if it's small.
Setting a goal, like a percentage or a fixed amount.
Could be. Whatever works for you. And remember, generosity isn't just money. What about your skills?
Oh, right. Like if you're good at writing resumes or fixing computers or...
Exactly. Offer those skills. Mentor someone in your field. That's hugely valuable.
I like the idea you mentioned earlier, scheduling generosity.
Making it intentional. Blocking out time to volunteer, or making a regular call to check in on someone who's isolated. Planning acts of kindness.
But what about spontaneous moments?
Also important. Maybe keep a small generosity fund for unexpected needs you encounter. And just be open. Maybe even pray for opportunities to bless someone unexpectedly.
Okay, let's connect this back to those scenarios. The coworker always borrowing.
Instead of just lending again, maybe offer, hey, can we sit down and look at your budget together? Or point them to a free financial counseling service. Channel Arkad.
Right, for the teen needing college money.
Maybe help them research scholarships or offer to read their application essays. Combine financial help with empowering guidance.
The neighbor who lost their job.
That's maybe more of a Good Samaritan moment. A meal, groceries, practical immediate support, showing you care.
What if you get a bit of extra income one month?
Think impact. Where could it make a real difference? A local food bank, a family you know is struggling, a cause focused on long-term solutions.
And if you have a business or a specific skill,
Offer it pro bono sometimes. Help a nonprofit or someone trying to get back on their feet.
like that single mother scenario, teaching her budgeting skills could be more valuable long term.
Precisely.
Yeah,
And the overwhelmed coworker. Sometimes the most generous thing is just your time, your attention, a listening ear.
makes sense. People often have questions around this, though, like how do you balance being generous with your own financial needs?
That's crucial. It's not about bankrupting yourself. It's about giving wisely within your means.
Hmm.
Budgeting for generosity helps. And remembering the cheerful giver part, it shouldn't feel like a burden.
And does generosity just mean tithes, or does it go beyond that?
Traditionally, tithes support the church's work, but generosity certainly extends wider to the poor, the hurting, those needing guidance. Wherever there's a need, you can meet.
What about the fear that your generosity might be misused?
A valid concern. That's where discernment comes in. Pray about it. Sometimes, like we said, it means shifting how you help, maybe offering resources or mentorship instead of cash if you suspect it's enabling bad habits. You're not obligated to fund irresponsibility.
But what if you don't have much money to give?
Then give what you do have. Your time is incredibly valuable. Your skills, your encouragement, a listening ear. Remember the widow's coins. Small gifts given from the heart matter.
Are there risks? Like the Samaritan took a risk stopping on that dangerous road.
Sure, giving can make you vulnerable. But again, wisdom and discernment are key. The Samaritan didn't try to solve all the world's problems. He focused on the person right in front of him. Focused help.
And just to reiterate, non monetary giving is just as valid.
Absolutely. Time, attention, encouragement, practical help, sharing your talents. These are powerful forms of generosity.
How do you avoid burnout, though? Trying to help everyone all the time.
You can't. That's why it needs to be sustainable. Led by compassion, yes, but also balanced with wisdom. Having healthy boundaries, taking care of yourself, having a solid financial plan. These allow you to give for the long haul.
And finally, what about the returns on generosity? You mentioned blessings, but it's not always financial, right?
Definitely not always material. The returns are often in strengthened relationships, personal joy and peace, maybe unexpected favor, a sense of purpose, and from a faith perspective, eternal reward. It's much richer than just dollars and cents.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it's been a fascinating deep dive. We've seen Arkad's focus on empowerment.
The Good Samaritan's powerful example of immediate selfless action.
And the consistent biblical principles that show generosity as this dynamic, rewarding, action-based way of living.
It's multifaceted,
Yeah,
not just one thing.
right. So the final thought to leave you with today is this. What's one specific, intentional act of generosity you could commit to this week?
Using your time, maybe your skills or your resources in a way that genuinely empowers someone else.
Or maybe think about this. How would your perspective change if you really embraced the idea of being a steward, managing what you have for a greater good, rather than feeling like an absolute owner?
Something to chew on. This is really just scratching the surface, but hopefully it sparks some further thought and maybe some action in your own life.